the management event of the year with ICC Sri Lanka and CIMA, a fireside chat with Sri Lanka's most prominent, bold and daring entrepreneurs together for the first time. Harry Javardhana, Sumal Pereira, Meryl J. Fernando, Dhammika Pereira, Ashok Patrage and Janak Hydramani.
So, Sumal, why don't you define these shocks?
I'll define for my personal experience.
Yeah.
Engineering, construction was at 12% tax rate. And that was one of the main factors for me to even take it public.
Yeah.
Right, 12%. Overnight, they increased from 12% to 28%. That is 150% straight increase. Then they put a 2% NBT on turnover. That works out to another 10%. Then the dividend tax, they increased to 14%. So overnight, I have to consider a 311% additional tax. How am I going to go to Dhammika and say, now you gave me a contract, now increase by 300%?
No, but
he might do that to make you happy.
Anybody can say.
Dinesh,
That is what I mean by shock.
No, but what do you think? Sometimes it's like a roller coastering effect. Sometimes the government also need the money.
Yes, that I.
But if the country is rich, they have to reduce. That because of that temporary measurement, time to time, government have to do those kind of adjustment to get, their revenue. Otherwise, this country cannot run. It's today's situation without increase the taxes and those kind of a thing. The government revenue is going to be 1,400 billion.
The private sector will be the engine of growth, Dhammika. If the private sector is going to be the engine of growth, you can't take money from that and give it to inefficient public sector.
No, but only
it's simple as that. It's a very simple thing. You can't take from the efficient sector and give it to inefficient sector. Will you take it? It's like us having a group of companies and all our profitable companies, we take the profit and keep alive some unprofitable subsidiary.
No, but
it's simple as that. Thank you. No, I don't agree.
No, but not as a businessman, because as a policy making level.
They all are not the engine of growth. If you say private sector is the engine of growth, then they must support that statement.
At the same time, the private sector also have to grow. The government also have to balance their, the cash flows, because otherwise country cannot run. As a policy maker, I also involved in the previous government. Then I can understand as a businessman and the policy maker how to run the country. Because of that, we have to balance the both things. I know that private sector is unhappy, but
I fully agree. But the 10,000 rupee increment they gave and not reducing the fuel prices was not called for. Nobody asked for it, So then we are all now paying for it.
No, but sometimes the political, end of the 5 years, they have to give something, no?
I think you should run for presidency, and I will support you fully.
Dhammika, do you have aspiration to be the common candidate?
No, because of that, I am going through each detail, each ministry, because I can clearly see what we can do. This reason, but actually, I will, make the proposal for all the 40 ministries.
Yeah, okay.
But if they're not doing within another 2 years, I will make a policy, the papers.
Okay. So we'll close this session with 2 questions. I will do the first one, then Nishar, you take the last one.
Yeah.
There's a question on corruption. How do we eliminate corruption? Maybe Ashok, can I start with you?
Well, I think, you can't overnight eliminate corruption unless, we need
Is it better than 5 years ago, or?
I don't answer that. It's a more political question. So what I say is, obviously we need to prosper as an economy. So when people become, more richer, and then, if we can pay higher salaries and wages to our public sector, right? When you pay a 20,000 rupees salary to a policeman, obviously you have to rob, right? There's no other choice. So obviously, right, even if you look at the parliamentarians, I am for, giving them a decent salary. If they are taking only 100,000, 200,000, they will have to, take bribes. So, I don't think in that way that we are going to ever eliminate. So, number one is we need to improve the economy. I think automatically then the corruption will come down, and then also we need to start paying decent salaries to our public sector. But we need to make the public sector an efficient force. Not having, when we need to hire only 5,000 and having 50,000 because of the political appointments. If you go that way, we will never go anywhere. So I think that's...
Dinesh, I will answer that question.
Damika, shall we ask Mr. Jayawardhan and then come to you?
Okay.
Right? Can you answer that question? How do we eliminate corruption? Or at least minimize? I don't want to use the word eliminate.
Corruption has become a part of life. From top to bottom, it is happening. If you just, I am not saying, you see the newspapers. Even a dead body to be taken from the mortuary is a corruption. Otherwise, the dead body won't be released. So there must be stern, the decision makers must set example. If they set example and if they are quite, now see in India, so many things happen, so many people resign. If a train is derailed, the minister resigns. If something happens to the system, the minister resigns. Look at other countries, what we do. So it must start from the top. If it starts from the top, it will go down the line.
Damika.
No, but because I have experience with the 2001, I discussed with the IMF and the World Bank the corruption level. But that time they put 3% cap. Below that they are not going to look. Over that, they will, going to look. But even though that IMF, how they monitoring, from some European bank, I have a good experience. I went to KPFW Bank, Germany, to learn, 2-week session about the basic infrastructure, how to develop the basic infrastructure in 2001. That time they show me the 35 files, who took the money from the European contractors. But you don't know the amount, 26,000, the Deutschmark that time, right? 3,000, 5,000, small numbers. Because of that, I discussed with them. They said, no, the below 3% they are not looking. But because of that, the IMF and everybody is giving happily the money. Yeah. If the corruption is high, they're not willing to give. Because of the corruption is low, otherwise they will put the condition into the things.
Okay. Nista, can you close it with your final question?
No, Janak, I'll give Janak a chance as to your own perspective about eliminating corruption.
I think that you have to pay public officials a proper salary. Right. You can't expect them to live on the salaries they're getting now, and that's the reason for corruption. Right. If they are paid, like in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew did that overnight. He paid his public servants huge salaries and eliminated corruption, I think.
So we have consensus, they up their salaries, which means tomorrow more taxes, okay? Fine. We like to wrap it up with one question, two short answers. What would you like the audience to take home? We have discussed so many things, positive and negative, some of the successes, some of the failures. Each one, can you leave for...
I'll give you 3 or 4 points. From this audience, one thing is very clear, that you don't need a lot of capital or a lot of wherewithal to start business. Most of us have started from zero, or some of us from below zero. So there is a lot of encouragement for you all to convert managers to entrepreneurs. It doesn't take much. And during our time, especially myself, Dhammik, Ashok and all, the external environment was far worse than what it is today. So that is one. So, but to do that, you must have big idea and small target. Big idea, small target. Then you must state your objectives very clearly. For example, my objectives was not profit-oriented. I wanted to build a family of companies and share and have build trust and each other. And I'm happy to say, if you ask me what is my greatest achievement, I have built a company with partners on a shake of hands, and we have not had any problems for 30 years. And we are still best of friends, best of families, and for me, that is my biggest profit. And that I'm got the inspiration from none other than Jesus Christ himself, who came and said, I'm not coming to fish, I'm coming to fish for people. So it depends on the objective set. So I here promote a holistic balance sheet, not bottom line oriented, but building human beings. Okay. And if we, in each corner of our world, if we build a good human capital and a humane organization where everybody gets a fair deal, then I think this country and this world will be a better place. And all of you all will also succeed. God bless you all. Thank you.
Jana, yeah.
I think we're fortunate to be born in Sri Lanka. There's ample opportunity for everybody, whether it be in retail, whether it be in manufacturing, whether it be in IT. But Sri Lanka offers a lot of opportunity. And if you're honest, which is a key criteria, you will do well. Thank you.
Thank you.
On my side, don't regret anything, previous thing. From today, you have to be happy. The same time, don't think about too much of the country situation, right? Think about your family situation and address those kind of small matters. Don't come to the bigger problems and, you have a headache and those kind of things. With so many, hours you put into the country, don't put it because you cannot do anything, right? We are looking because of that, you don't worry. Right? I think maybe you all can go happy and keep happy, mirror neuron, activate.
I think you all have spent 3 hours of your good time to listen to all of us and see what these people have to say and how they have come up to this stage. Having said that, all of you must be having some talent in some field that you have not even explored. If you have explored this situation, you start something. Now the government is, in fairness to them, is trying to encourage the young rural entrepreneurs. You are going to see the exhibitions that are being held with Sri Lanka products. These products are so well done, they can find markets. So similarly, all of you all, don't say no to an answer. Think today that I can do something with myself, my own talent, with friends or otherwise, can go forward and show your talent and have confidence in you. First thing is you must have confidence in you and you must run as fast as possible. If you do that, then I think you have achieved success. So I wish you all the success and thank you for the patient hearing.
Thank you.
And we all have come up the hard way with all the problems that we have faced, politically, otherwise, global conditions, economic conditions. These are normal in life. Today you have to be adaptable and adjusted. If you stay and moan and say, this I lost, that is not happening today, the world is suffering with oil prices, or, those things are irrelevant. When you get up in the morning, see what am I to do? What can I do for myself, my family? Have that determination. Say no to an answer and go forward. That is what I have done. That is what you can do, and you must go forward.
Thank you.
And as Mr. Janak said, whatever you start, whatever you do, have honest, discipline, determination. If you take that right and go forward, and you will achieve success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear friends, Sri Lankans are very talented people. I know for sure there are about 15,000 humble people in the villages who are entrepreneurs today, created by the charitable foundation. I came from nowhere, and I'm proud to be seated with all these big entrepreneurs and a crowd before you. And I'm humbled by the opportunity to say a few words about my success in business. I believed in a purpose that happened to be tea. I pursued it to the very, very end. I have several businesses, but one cardinal principle is I do not want to be big, but I want to be the best. And getting the best is not difficult. And I owe a lot to my two sons who have helped me in the last 20 years a great deal, carried a lot of my weight, and to my original employees who are unmatchable, and all my employees today. What I tell them is, be humble, don't be proud, don't envy anybody, don't be jealous, have a clean heart. You will never go wrong, your businesses will come right. And when you start making money, think of the poor. Even if you give them or not, think of them, because you came with nothing and you go with nothing. That's my advice to anybody.
Well, my message is I have built a company from 1 million rupees to today we have a turnover of over 70 billion, and we lead some of the sectors like the healthcare and retail. So the takeaway for all of you, from my perspective, is nothing is impossible. So stay focused, be positive. You know, if we are not going to be optimistic, I don't think that we are going to achieve anything. So stay positive and work hard. I think you can achieve all your dreams. Thank you.
Much has been spoken, but we have a summary in conclusion. And we'd like to invite the head of consulting with Deloitte South Asia, and we're happy that he's here, Romal Shetty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Honorable panel members, ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be very difficult for me to summarize this extraordinary depth of experience, very, very diverse views. So I don't want to go to summing up some of it, but I just thought that there were some very interesting thoughts. One was clearly each of them had not just about being great entrepreneurs, but clearly purpose. Clearly they had purpose, passion, and pride. You know, we at Deloitte, a number of our senior members in Deloitte Consulting globally are actually Sri Lankans. So Sri Lanka is it's never the issue of talent. I think this is a fantastic, talented country. We've got a lot of professionals, and we've been working for 175 years right across the globe. Truly, this country has talent, and I don't think so. It's only limited to cricket, music, right? That's what I heard, and tea. Tea, absolutely fantastic, but I think there's a lot more talent here. The second one, which I thought was also important, was, we spoke about being the best. We started this event with a Steve Jobs video, and I'll narrate a story. I don't know how many of you know the story, but when the Apple Macintosh was going to be released, Steve Jobs basically said, "Can I look at the circuit board, the printed circuit board?" And the chief engineer said, "Why do you want to look at the printed circuit board? It's inside the machine, right?" He said, "I want to look at it because at Apple, signify is design, right? Design excellence." And when he looked at the circuit board, it was actually crappy, the design. They said that let's go back and relook at the design. He said, "This will delay our launch by 15 days. It doesn't make sense. We have the advertisement, the marketing, the budgets have all been spent." He said, he said, "Nobody will come to know." He said, "Doesn't matter, nobody will come to know, but you and I both know that there is a deficiency." I think excellence is also very, very important in whatever we do, and I think most of them have actually signified excellence in their own businesses. What I thought was, and there are multiple challenges in each of our economies. You know, I come from South Asia as well. There are multiple challenges in the economies, and we felt that maybe there are 3 or 4 key takeaways. One clearly is ease of doing business. But I would say that as we work, and we work across multiple economies, multiple countries, administrations, governments, technology is important. If there is something that can change fundamentally a lot of things, it is technology in terms of even ease of doing business. Can you change the number of window clearances that you have to one window clearance? If you can change the number of clearances to one window, you can also change corruption in the country. It's clearly evident by a number of case studies. Can it be eradicated? No, it cannot be eradicated. The second one is also in terms of what is the skill that Sri Lanka would want to be known for? Very, very important in today's day and age. Can you build an IP? IP is very important. We are normally, all of us countries are known as we're copying something. But can we build IP that is so unique? And IP basically ensures finally valuation and value, most importantly. So are we doing value creation or are we doing value preservation? So it's very important in terms of how do we develop talent? And today, we say in schools and colleges, can everybody have science, maths, and arts as well? Can we have this knowledge attributed to everyone? Can we build those enabling institutions? Third is really in terms of how do you create infrastructure? I mean, I'll give you an example in terms of as countries, we don't need to necessarily build the infrastructure that the US has or someone else has. Can we use technology to leapfrog some of those things and use one of the most important things that each of us has is a mobile device? How do you use that mobile device for many more things today rather than, just wait for physical infrastructure? And I can give you an example in terms of India where a private sector, they got a private sector individual. They did not get a government sector individual. They got a private sector individual. His name is Nandan Nilekani, who used to head a company called Infosys, which is a pretty large company, to run a program called the Aadhaar. Aadhaar was basically a biometric card which had all your details. And what's interesting, of course, there's always disputes about how much it saved. But every Indian, supposedly, or 1 billion Indians, have an Aadhaar card. Today, the direct benefit transfer, because of Aadhaar, has saved $8 billion. Now, people can say it's maybe 6 and not 8 or 5 billion, but that's a lot of money. So can you actually implement something like that? Or, for example, clearly in terms of, the way data got liberalized in India, or liberalization itself in a number of areas was significant. So how can we bring in more liberalization? The last one is in terms of just the governance bit, in terms of how can we have citizens and governance connected to each other. And I mean, I'll give you again an example of a state government that does something called real-time monitoring. All the largest projects in this state, by the way, goes by the ease of doing business, and in India is now ranked amongst the top state. Every particular dam, project, crime is actually tracked on a real-time basis. They do a census real-time basis. So there is a lot of things that can be done today, and you don't have to wait for ministries and others to do things. And the last one I think is very important is in any economy, if you have to build, I think it's important that financial inclusion, financial products needs to go to the masses. Unless you get financially literate, an economy cannot grow. I think it's truly been Deloitte's pleasure and privilege to be sort of the knowledge partner for this, and also just to listen to some outstanding talent here. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you very much, Romal. Now we would like to invite, here present with us is the CIMA president visiting from England, and we'd like to invite Steve Świętoszewski to take the stage with the chairman of ICCSL, who's Dinesh Virakodi, and the other partner in the enterprise was Daily FT and its editor-in-chief, Mr. Kasim. Why are we assembling them? In order to say thank you very much to each of those constituents in our fireside chat. As we did before, we shall follow the alphabetical order of first names. So, Mr. Ashok Pathrage. Mr. Merrill J. Fernando. Yes, we had much involvement on the part of Deloitte Consultancy, so we will like to honor them as well. So this Deloitte, I'm not sure who's going to accept it, but is it? Yes, Mr. Romal Shetty. Much for being here.